Okay, it's just about time for the wedding to start, and as you can see, we're back out into the harsh sun. So we're going to make the best of this situation by utilizing as much as we can some of the backlight, and of course using our flash as a fill light. And when the bride walks in with her dad, and here we have a nice backlight that's coming in, just giving a nice glow to her veil and giving a little bit more dimension to the photograph. And on this one, we're actually shooting a little bit into the light, showing a lot of highlights in the hair and all, just giving a nice dimension and some nice shadow also to the photograph. And again, here's the overall scene during the wedding. Again, harsh lighting out in the open sun. This particular panel was taken with my Fuji F600 EXR. It's a great little point-and-shoot camera, so I just wanted to take one showing that. And then after the wedding, we just did a few portraits real quick before we went into the reception. We did some of the bride and groom, and then I set them up here again where I thought that the lighting was fairly good, and we only had a couple minutes. And I realized that the sky was starting to get overcast, and we had a little bit of clouds coming in. However, the human eye cannot pick up the clouds as well as infrared can. So I got my Nikon Coolpix that I had converted, as I talked about in part 1 of this video. I had it converted to take only black and white infrared. Now, when it comes out of the camera, it has a little bit of a reddish cast. So what I have to do is I just have to go in. I'll either make it more black and white, give it a brown tone, as in this case, and this is pretty much how it comes out of the camera. However, I did darken the corners up here a little bit and might have darkened the sky a slight bit. This is pretty much how it looks coming out of the camera, except for the reddish cast that it has. And then same thing here, but I made this one a blue tone, same cool sky. And remember, this is what the human eye cannot see. The human eye only goes into a certain range, wavelength range, but the infrared range goes beyond what the human eye can see. Therefore, we get these really dramatic images by using black and white infrared. So now we go into the reception, and we're just taking a photo of just a cake before anybody gets to it. And as you can see, we have a highlight coming in from our left, and that is done by the second light, which, as I talked about, is the Quantum Q flash that I have on a light stand. And I'm also using my on-camera flash as fill on this one. And then here we see the groom just having fun dancing with his mom. And as you can see, the second light, you can see by the shadows, is coming in from our right and behind the groom, just giving a little bit of more of a dimensional effect to the photo. Same thing here with the bride and groom dancing with the kids. Lights coming in from our right side and a little bit behind the group. When the bride and groom do their first dance, in addition to where we're photographing them from the front, maybe using a second light about 45 degrees, we also do one where I have my assistant hold a second light, and then he's scooting down between the bride and groom, and then the light is set to go off a little bit stronger than my on-camera flash. So it just gives a nice highlight here. Here we did the same thing with the bride and her dad, but it was just zoomed in quite a bit closer. So again, the nice thing about this lens is you can just zoom from full length to zooming in really close. And here we're zoomed in at 170 millimeter. And again, Nikon D7000 set to 6.3 at a 60th of a second. ISO is at 500. And then Dad giving his speech. You can see we have the second light set up again on a light stand coming in from our left, just adding a little bit of a nice highlight, using it as a kicker light. When it comes time to cut the cake, I have my assistant. He's going to be doing a lot of natural light coming in with, he's using his flash as a fill, but he's using the Nikon D300, but he's using a real slow shutter speed at a 1/10 of a second, and he's at f5, and he's set to 31 millimeters using the 18-200 millimeter lens. So he's able to catch some of the natural light that was coming in from the spotlight right above them. However, we had to use fill to lighten up the dark shadows underneath the eyes and all. So I chose to use the second light that was coming in from behind. You can see the highlights on the bride and on her hair. And the groom playing with his band, playing drums. And you can see my second light here on the light stand to the left of the photograph. It just made a nice high contrast image of the band. And as it comes time to leave, the bride and groom get ready to go outside. And I'm using the Nikon D7000 here, set to 5.6, and I'm setting it at a 30th of a second, ISO 640, because I want to pick up most of the ambient light coming off the sparklers. However, I use my second light as a weak kicker, because you could see it coming in, hitting the bride, giving a nice little bit of more dimension than you would if you were just doing this with your on-camera flash. So I'm using my on-camera flash as well as a second light. However, the lens is set to pick up a lot of ambient light. And the shot that we usually end the album with is a shot of just the rings. And in the old days, I used to use a magnifying glass in front of my lens, which you could still do if you wanted to. But the 18 to 200 millimeter lens, even though it's not a macro lens, I can get close enough to do a nice ring shot. And I may have to crop it in just a little bit, but I'm able to get close enough to do this ring shot, and I'm using my Quantum as my main light that's held by my assistant on the left side. So there you have it. That's pretty much it. The equipment that we use, along with a few sample photographs that I talked about and showed you. And I just want to say that I've been doing this for quite a few years. I took my first wedding back in the late 60s, pretty much an old timer now, and I really enjoy doing weddings. I don't want to do a whole lot of them, but I just want to keep it, just do a few here and there. But I think it's still a great opportunity in business, in the business of photography. So if somebody's getting started, so I think that weddings are a good way to go. And although it could be a little bit mind-boggling, if you just keep it in perspective and just keep it simple to start, you'll be fine. It's just one step at a time. And then maybe sometime we'll talk about that, how to get started, or I might work on a project on how to do that. But anyway, I hope this helped you, and wish you the best, and thank you for watching.